So fentanyl feels exactly like heroin when it hits you.
That was my experience. Yeah, I couldn't.
Wow.
I wouldn't. If you gave me the Pepsi challenge or something, I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference, man. My name is Jason Dennis. Well, I was a teenage drug addict. What am I supposed to say?
I was always impressed with you because you had enough willpower to do every drug once.
Yeah.
Get a quick list.
Sure. Yeah. Let me read it off from the very beginning. All right. So caffeine, obviously drank, eaten, and pills. And then alcohol, cannabis, smoked and eaten, hash, nitrous oxide, GHB, nicotine, smoked and vaped and chewed, MDMA, MDA, 2CB, ecstasy, cocaine, crack, mushrooms, psilocybin extract, 4-acetoxy DMT, which is a weird one. I'll tell you a story about that sometime. Mescaline, LSD, DMT, 5-MeO DMT, DXM, opium, heroin. I've smoked and snorted and injected that. Kratom, ketamine, crystal meth. I smoked and snorted that. Valium, Xanax, Soma, Vicodin, oxycodone, Klonopin, Ritalin, and Adderall. And then any other kind of pill thing like that you'd ever think of, Valium and so on,
What's your top three?
Top three drugs of all time, man? Mushrooms is probably the most profound drug that you could do because unlike the other psychedelic things, there's a heavy emotional component to it, which became more and more important to me. Because that's really missing from something like DMT or from even acid doesn't really have a heavy emotional thing.
So you did meth or no?
Oh, yeah, sure. So anyway, you're going through the things and you're like, ketamine, I never did that before. Let's try that. Meth, I never did meth. Lesson number 4, you don't have to do meth.
That's okay. That's a good lesson.
You're not going to learn anything from doing meth, man. You want to talk about something you're never going to learn anything. You're going to learn what staying awake for 3 days feels like.
You did 3 days?
Yeah, because I did an accident. I got a gram of meth, and I think I snorted the whole thing. I either snorted or smoked.
You snort meth?
Yeah. And I think I might have smoked a lot of it, too. But yes, you could snort it, for sure. You just break it up into... It comes as crystals that sort of looks like rock candy itself, just a different kind of rock candy.
Is rock candy the devil?
No, it's just everything you make with, like, a chemistry set looks like rock candy, I think.
Wow, okay.
So... you grind it up, and then you could snort it, but I think I smoked it out of my crack pipe. I must have done crack first, because I had the pipe waiting around. So I had smoked the meth, and I did a whole gram of it. So if you want your chest to hurt, and for you to be very scared that your chest is hurting a lot, even though you're a young man, and you want to get your house real clean and stay awake for 3 days.
So roughly what age did you do meth?
34.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a prime age for meth. I've always said that.
Like that. Yeah, that's
my parents agree.
Yeah.
A couple of years away from it, Mom.
I know. Because you're coming into your meth years. Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
My meth years are just starting up,
that's it.
and I just want to ramp into them the right way.
We all remember our meth years as the fondest years, the salad days.
Yeah.
The dressing on our salad days.
Been looking forward to it.
So let's go back. Finally able to work.
Let's go back to the drug list. So,
yeah, sure.
Do you want to start with maybe the ones that were craziest for you?
Oh, you asked me the craziest ones. Yeah, mushroom. I had sometimes it's combinations of things. So the craziest psychedelic experience I had was on a combination of ketamine and MDMA. I did like a double thing of that, and then I had an insane psychedelic experience where I was like flipping around. It's one thing to see things move and twitter around, or the sun looks weird and the sky is moving around weird or something like that. This was like I was circling in some sort of space, and I could close and open my eyes, and it wasn't changing when I was closing and opening my eyes.
What do you feel like? What are you thinking? Like, is there anything profound out of that, or you're just lost?
You're just lost, and then I'm trying to like ride with it and be cool about it. That is the thing. Like, the more experienced you get with these various drugs, you learn to like chill out and not freak out. Of course, you just become better at riding them.
So was there one experience where like, oh, I'm freaking out? Is there a turning point where you're like, I go from just bugging to knowing? When do you become a veteran of hard drugs?
Oh, yeah. I think after, I couldn't speak for everybody, of course, but there's a certain amount of experience, like, you're just some trips, they'll just be all bad, you'll take a acid or something, and then you're just going to have a bad time the entire time.
So for people who aren't used to it, like, what's the first couple signs of a bad trip coming to you?
You just feel emotionally terrible.
Okay, it's just like
It'll
a
be
wave.
so yes, yeah. You
it's like
wouldn't
a tsunami of anxiety.
Yes, and sometimes that's good. So some like mushrooms, for instance, you'll have because it's so emotional. Like I'm saying, you'll have these terrible experiences, and then they'll vault into like extreme. Profound and amazing feeling experiences, and then you'll go back down to terrible experience. And the ironic thing in there is like you become excited about the super negative thing because then you're like, oh, the drug is still working, and I've got even inside the drug, you're like, oh, I know that I've got another big another high point coming after this because I'm feeling real terrible now. Wow. So as you go along with things, but you'd have to be experienced to. The first time you were doing it, of course, you'd feel.
But that's an interesting, after being on the other side of all these drugs,
right?
Do you feel like you see more patterns in humanity, or do you see through some of the the artificial socializations? Like, what do you see about humans after all that?
Right. I think a lot of people have said like, oh, they've discovered things by taking drugs or psychedelic. Psychedelics are the thing that I don't know what people are learning from heroin, or I don't. Maybe they learn how itchy you could possibly be is what you're learning from heroin. You learn what it feels like to scratch your legs for 3 hours straight until your fingernails are covered in blood. I was in group drug therapy in New Orleans.
Oh, fun!
And I could tell you how I got there. There was people. You're in group drug therapy. It's court ordered, like drug court.
Of course,
and you just be in like at the round table or whatever with everybody, discussing, why drugs are bad or whatever. And then like a guy would just be in there, kind of casually itching. And then the lady who was running it would like walk out of the room for 2 seconds. Hey, I gotta go get something, and she'd come back in. And then like 5 minutes later, 3 cops would come and just drag the guy and drag him out because he was like, they're hip to the signs of.
That's why. Would that guy ever show back up?
He'd have to go back to court, and so he'd be out of your class of drug therapy. So you'd miss him. But yeah, it is a shame. I was there for weed, so it was very easy.
For weed?
Yeah,
wow.
that was it. I guess I could tell that story quickly. I got arrested in college. I was a teenage drug dealer.
Ooh.
And so this was before I'd done a few things at this point, but I was.
Paint the scene. Did you have long drug dealer hair?
That's right. I had a giant afro, and I had. No, this was like the early 2000s, and so I would get weed mailed to me. My buddy was going to NYU at the time, and he had a connection to get pounds. And so I was going to college in New Orleans, and he would overnight mail like a pound of weed at a time to me down in New Orleans, and I would sell it to the dorm kids or the frat kids and then whatever else. I got caught smoking on a balcony in the dorm, and then the campus police arrested me, and I had 28 individually ounces and $1,000 whatever in a floor safe that they, made me open, and then they turned me over to the New Orleans police, and I went to OPP, and I was in jail for 4 days, and my parents had to come down to New Orleans with $15,000 in cash to, post my bail so I could try to beat my felony charge, because they originally arrested me with a possession charge, and then when the DA reviewed it, I had a felony, intent to distribute charge.
I always admired kids in college who were doing it just because I love a hustle, but it has to be stress. You live in like a wall of stress.
No, I lived in a wall of marijuana haze, man. And every pound I was smoking at least, a half ounce of, because there's always the shake at the bottom of the bag that I can't sell, so it's like blump, 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 blump. So I was not frankly stressed out. I was just on a bad thing. I think I had a thing like my parents. I didn't want them controlling me, so I wanted to make money so that when I graduated from college, they wouldn't have any control over my life, and then I'd have. My dream was I was going to make $25,000, and I I thought that was like all the money I was ever going to need to.
They should make that like a male Disney movie. That's like the princess of masculinity.
Yes, I know. It was just pathetic. I was just some like spoiled rich kid who wanted to be, emancipated from my parents, because they, by virtue of paying for every single thing that I did in my life and paying for college in full and everything like that, they wanted me to, not smoke blunts all day and go to class and stuff, like a bunch of jerks. So I was I'm not putting up with that bullshit, man.
I feel like you're like me, where I cringe every year that passes. I cringe the year prior version of me.
Oh, I don't understand these people who say they have no regrets.
Yeah.
I regret everything I've ever done in my life. Even the good things. I could have been better if I wasn't such
Once in a while, a memory will just
idiot.
pop in, and I go,
yeah,
I should kill myself.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So how are you getting these drugs?
Oh, yeah. So there we go. As a kid, obviously, all the, I tried pot the first time I was 15, and, my friend's brother had it or something, or I tried it at, like, some high school party. And then then alcohol, of course, cigarettes. I could never smoke cigarettes, but I always hung out with pot people. Once I started smoking pot, that was the gateway drug. I didn't even drink till I was in college. And I would get it. God, where would we get pot in high school?
What year?
Kids?
What year?
I was in high school from 98 to 2002, so this would have been 2000 that I started smoking pot when I had like 15 and a half or something.
Probably involved a flip phone somewhere.
There was a Nokia, some kind of Nokia, not even flip. Things weren't even flipping in those days, man. There was like Nokia, a 9-button phone. It just looked like the phone that you would take off the wall, like a cordless phone from your house, but you would just carry it along with you in your pocket. And so, yeah, that's what we were doing. And there was no texting. You just call people up, just bad kids, and they'd get you an eighth or something. And then I became that bad kid. This is kind of a funny story. I was getting ounces of real shitty weed from, I think my friend Jessica was a bad kid. And so she had all these older boys that I guess she was fucking or whatever, but she was, we were in the play together, and then we became like pot smoking friends, and we'd go out there and, practice and stuff. And then, so she had a friend who would get us an ounce of shitty weed with a bunch of seeds in it and stuff like that. So I miss
the seed weed.
Oh, well, I would meticulously I would get that for $120, meticulously go through, take out every single seed, rebag it into grams, and then sell it for $20 a gram. And that was my thing. Because gramming it out for $280, that's $560 minus $120 is $440 for every ounce that you sell.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's good drug math. You got to, yeah, man. That's how you know somebody's really into when they can multiply and divide by 28 at the drop of a hat. That's when you know somebody's really into
makes me
their
wonder
fucking
what China's
drugs.
up to.
So point being, I was messaging with her on AOL Instant Message, like, okay, I'm gonna get that ounce and I'm gonna break it up. I was like explaining my whole thing.
Do you know how many bad things happened on AOL Instant Messenger?
Man, well, then later that night, my dad comes into my room and he's like, I saw on the computer that you were selling drugs, and I want to let you know you never have to sell drugs. If you ever need money, please come to me. Point is, my mom was cheating on my dad, and he had a keylogger on the family computer to see everything that everybody was typing so that he could catch her cheating. But what he caught was me, that his stupid 16-year-old son was a drug dealer.
Holy shit.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Did your mom ever find out?
Yeah, for sure. Well, they almost got divorced about it.
God,
yes,
I love it.
She was cheating on him, by the way. That wasn't
Oh,
that.
wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
so he
my
was right
God.
about that. But
Holy shit.
but that all came to head.
What a fun place to go.
Yeah, I know. That's the dark side of the suburbs, man. It's like American Beauty, It's like
Oh my God, I
all
wonder
these
what
rich
else you
people. You think
typed.
they're happy? No
What
way.
else did you type?
I'm
You
sure
think
I
he's
was
watching
like,
your porn history?
yes, exactly. Yes,
Your father had to sit somewhere and read your porn history.
Yeah, he's all my incest fetish things or whatever, all my daddy-daughter, whatever. And there's because this is back in the day. It took a long time to download videos, So like,
as long as he knows it's you and not your mom.
I know. Yes, baby. It's like, yeah, this is a mother-son incest story. So is it Barbara, try to fuck him,
Dude,
or is it Jason try to fuck Barbara?
He probably brought that shit to the bar and read it.
Yeah. No, yes, it was very erotic, man. Yes.
Do you need another beer? I'll get you one.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I didn't see cocaine till I was a senior in high school, and then I didn't start even try cocaine until I was a freshman in college.
What does cocaine feel like?
Oh, the first time, everybody loves it. Yeah, man, you first of all, because
imagine it's like a dirty bathroom, and I watch it go up your nose and your eyes open.
Yes, the dilated thing. Well, it's Requiem for a Dream did a good job with that, right? Where you'd snort something or inject something, and then you'd cut to the eyes, and they would spring open or whatever.
Yeah, I love that
that's
shit.
That's sort of the
But
effect.
coke always scared me because I feel like
it scared me too.
it made people's face vibrate. I feel like when I was around people I liked on coke, I could see right through their disguise, right through into their humanity, and you go, bro, no, go home. Go home, man.
Yeah, I never. Something I should say, I guess, about doing drugs is I like to do them by myself if I can possibly help it.
That's a big thing. Okay.
I don't want anybody around. Weed and alcohol being the exceptions, of course. But and then maybe ecstasy with a girl or something like that. But even most of those things, and coke especially, I don't want to be around other people. I want to be home and
so what's the ritual?
Cleaning and
we should set up. You're getting these off the dark web. They're coming to your home, and then the ritual is like, hey, next Friday or the Friday after next, I'm gonna sit here. Mm-hmm. Block out some time. Do you rent a movie? What do you?
Well, these stories I'm telling were all before the dark web. I started fucking around with the dark web back in maybe, I don't know what the statute of limitations of these things is. So let's say whatever that was plus 2 years ago.
Okay.
And but I'll tell you, yeah. And then because as long as I'm on stupid camera here, I'm trying to make content for
let's go, baby.
Mike Lavin.
Pumping it out. Let me suck it out of you.
He needs to get his rent paid somehow, man. And so he exploits all his old buddies.
It's what it is. Welcome to the future.
For precious content.
God, I hate myself.
I know. So the dark web stuff works like this. I don't know how I even initially I must have just heard about it, and then I started Googling around about it.
Did you get in Bitcoin early? Because this feels like a guy who would...
No, I was involved with Bitcoin. I was involved with Bitcoin back when it was $200 per Bitcoin
do you have
or whatever.
Any still?
That's what... No, because I was never interested in the investment aspect of it. It was just a great way to buy drugs on the internet. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. All right, so how do you get into it? What's your earliest...
So, yeah, I think I just must have heard about it from somewhere. I was the one who introduced everybody else in my... I
remember.
I was the locus of this because I was the first one. Because I was like, you can buy drugs on the internet. This is.
I feel like it was like a Vice doc or something.
Yeah, well, maybe I heard about it because that would have been going on at the time in the mid 2010s. I couldn't believe nobody else cared about this. I was like, you can buy drugs with crazy fake money on the internet, man. This was these are real drugs, and they mailed them to your house, man. We could do every drug.
Yeah, I remember when you told us, and we were getting fake IDs off the fucking thing.
Yeah, you could do some of that, or you get passwords and credit cards. This back when you started too. I think you could get weapons and stuff. I think most of the markets, the online drug markets, have gotten rid of that. You can't kill people or even get prostitutes. Now it's just drugs and then fake Fendi bags and things like that.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's right. You buy Joe Biden. You buy Hunter's laptop or whatever like that. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Sell those cock pigs.
I wish. Do coke off of that. I do coke off of that.
So I think I was getting, because I could always get weed, of course, but it was still great. You could get, everything's cheaper. Okay. And so I investigated the stupid dark web thing, and I figured out all the different parts to it. And so there's like 3 parts. You got to get the Bitcoin. You got to get onto these darknet marketplaces, which there's a special web browser called Tor that you get on that goes to these .onion sites, which aren't cataloged by Google or any search engine or anything. So you have to just know about them and go directly to them. And then there's something called PGP, which is the way that you encrypt your address so that only you and the person that you're buying from can encrypt your address.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Those are the 3 parts of it. So that if anybody intercepts or the government's watching or something like that.
Well, just to jump in, I got hacked on eBay selling a camera years ago. Uh-huh. And they made fake PayPal transactions, this whole thing. Oh, wow. But as soon as they got my address, they were dark web people, and they started saying they were sending CP to my address.
Oh, jeez.
And sending coke and stuff. So, it is. I'd never even thought of it. The address is so crucial to how you're going to get blackmailed on the dark web.
I guess. I don't know if blackmail is the center. Maybe you just had a crazy experience.
Yeah, I had to go to the FBI, and they said, you need to take it up with the cops. And the cops said, you need to go to the FBI. Yeah. So then for months, I'm like, can somebody intercept CP?
Yeah, do I have to talk to Batman or something? Yeah, like who's involved
Who's going to take the CP?
Who cares about this? Yeah, it's like, man.
So, all right, so you were fearless. Illegal? You were sending your address
I just was, is stupid, and I'm tech savvy also. I work in IT. Okay, so then I just had a advantage in knowing some of the particulars and what to do these things. So I think I started off, I just probably did a couple of weed things or whatever, like kind of the lowest, maybe I'll get an ounce of weed or something and just see if it works. And after that worked a couple times, I was like, oh man. And the way that these darknet markets are organized, And there have been a million of them. They always last for a year or two, and then they shut down. There was Silk Road, which is probably the most famous one. And then Silk Road. I've been it since the original Silk Road, which I think maybe shut down in 14 or 15. I think that was the first place I ever bought anything from. And then Silk Road 2, Dream Market, Agora, Dark Ode.
I didn't realize there were so many.
Yeah, because they come and they go and they come and they go.
LimeWire.
Now the ones that are active, I think, are called. There's Alpha Bay 2, there was Alpha Bay. Now there's Alpha Bay 2, and then there's the Italian dark web. There's
the Italian dark web.
Yes,
they have Sopranos DVDs.
Wall Street Markets. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, that sounds like a funny thing. So
what's the first thing you bought besides weed?
It would have been weed. Probably cocaine. Okay. Because it's hard to get. Even living in New York at the time, like I was, it's tricky to get. And I think I had just broken up with a girlfriend at this time. Like we were together for 3.5 years. We broke up at the end of 2013. It was 2014, and I was like single. I had nothing to do. I was probably like depressed from breaking up, and I'm
single, cocaine.
Right. Well, I was just like drugs. Yeah, drugs.
I love
it's never like active in your mind. It's just like you just kind of look back on your history, and then you think about that must have been what I was up to at the time. Yeah. So I'd get cocaine.
So cocaine, first time off the dark web.
Yeah.
Is this you're going back to cocaine on the dark web? This is one of many times. Okay.
Oh,
so you loved it. There was never a bad batch where you felt
no.
suspect.
The quality of the drugs on the dark web is unrivaled compared to anything else. The way it's set up is like eBay, and there's recommendations. There's not recommendations, but there's reviews under everybody's thing. So and it's hard to juice your reviews because you have to legitimately purchase in order to leave a review.
Like
so there's no. It's not like Amazon where you could just like fake your reviews and stuff. And so I guess to some degree they could just, sell to themselves and leave things. But it's the quality of the drugs is unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah,
there was never one bad batch of anything.
Never a bad batch of anything. And never a missing transaction either. Never a single time in the 100+ drug transactions I've made on the dark web has anything not eventually showed up.
Wow.
One time I bought something and I read on like a dark web news service that this guy, who was this guy's like username on this site, this great man, Mike, he got arrested. Like I saw in the news thing, the user got arrested with pounds of cocaine. He had brought it to the mail and they had like been tracking him and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm not getting. I had our purchase in the mail, but then his screen name deleted from the site. I was like, all right, the guy got arrested. That's not his fault or whatever like that. I just figured I lost my $100 for my gram of cocaine or whatever it was that I had ordered. 2 months later, guy knocks on my door, says like mail. I was living in a building in New York. The mail doesn't get delivered to your door. It wasn't a UPS guy or anything like that.
Wow.
Guy not in any uniform, just in an outfit. Hands me an envelope and walks away.
Wow.
And it was my cocaine from this guy 2 months later.
Wow.
Yeah, what credibility. That's what I'm talking about in drugs.
Okay, I take it
these
back.
Guys,
I thought he ripped you off. Okay.
This guy, credibility, man. It was amazing.
That's better business in the
than
streets
anybody.
in New York.
I'm telling you, man, it was so much honor among thieves. It was really, yes, these scumbags were the cartel, man. They like have these cartels. They have a code of their own. They get the drugs where they're supposed to be. They might fucking try to stop them and they'll put your head in a duffel bag or something, right? But
what are you gonna do?
they'll get you if you're the end consumer, man. They get you your fucking drugs. God love them.
So after coke, where do you go to?
So I'll tell you how I started doing heroin. How about that?
Let's jump to the good stuff.
Well, I was ordering coke through the darknet, and I was getting it. It was great. I'd only get a gram at a time. I never would go too crazy. That's another thing about ordering thing off the darknet. Like if you have a local connection, you go and you get it and you get it again and again. Something nice about the darknet is like you were saying about planning. Like I have to think like I got to get the Bitcoin. It takes like 2 weeks from conception to actually the thing arriving in your mail. And then what happened was a guy sent me my coke and it came in this like funny big package, and inside were these toy like metal die cast cars, like Hot Wheels type cars, but like Mexican Hot Wheels or something like that. Anyway, I go opening up the package and I'm like, oh, I think this is just it's like a security device basically, like he's hiding it in here. And he hid it in there, and I found a bag, and I'd ordered a gram of coke, and when I got it, it was like gray powder or whatever. And I was like, this doesn't. Oh, no. I like maybe sniffed it or like. I was like, no. So I went to go look at this guy's profile on the darknet, and all he sold was coke and heroin. So I was like, oh, I bet I know what happened here. He just accidentally sent me a gram of heroin as opposed to a gram of coke. Talk about honor. I messaged the guy. He sent me another gram of coke.
But you got to keep your heroin.
I got to keep the heroin.
Well, you know what? These guys on the dark web. They're good business people.
Salt of the earth,
They're
man.
Good business people. They might be selling poison, but God bless them.
My God, it was unbelievable. So I got a free gram of heroin. Anyway, I was freaked. I'd never seen heroin before.
So your first time heroin was on the house?
By accident.
Wow.
Totally by accident.
For free.
And I was freaked out, of course. And I was like, I didn't even want this in my house. I was like, oh, is this a trap? Is the government sending? I was like, scared.
Naturally.
But then I was like, all right, let's calm down. Everything's fine. Let's just see about it. And so I go on to erowid.org, which for everybody watching here is it saved my life 1,000 times. It's a website that gives you dosing information for various illegal drugs. Erowid.org, go look at it before you try any drug. If you learn nothing else from this video, that's what you need to know.
Oh, wow. That's so
because
cool.
That's the only resource you could possibly go to where they'll give you accurate information about dosing illegal drugs. So I went to Arrowwood and I was looked up the starting amount for heroin, I think, is something like 100th or 200ths of a gram or something like that. Anyway, a gram of heroin for somebody especially who's never done heroin before is like 50 doses of heroin. Yeah, it's an enormous amount of heroin. Yeah. So I snorted 1/10 of a gram, which is like 5 doses.
My God. My dad said somebody he knew snorted heroin and passed out for days.
Right.
So what happens to you your first time?
I could not pee for 12 hours, man. Fucking sucked. I think, again, this is like an antidepressant, problem where it was something combination between my because my antidepressant stops me from coming as quick also. So I think it has dick-related properties. Wow. Yeah. So a lot of SSRIs
I hope
it
helps you too.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
It's not. It's great. It's great because it lets me last longer in bed, and it's great because it gives a floor to my depression. So it's doubly great. Shout out to Pfizer and AstraZeneca and all them too, man.
And Kanye, please go back.
Yeah, man. Because they get their drugs to you too, man. Please. And listen, I'd probably killed myself if it wasn't for their help. So
they sell the vaccine on the dark web.
Yeah, that'd be cool too, right? If you could get it 3 days early or something. Man.
You met Fauci on there
years
ago.
Yeah, Fauci's on there, man. Just any way I can get it out to the people, man. That's all I ask is that you take it.
All right, so you do heroin.
They should mix it with heroin, so you could
That'd be great. It'd sell right off the shelves.
Right,
in Manhattan.
I know, man. Yes, yeah. It'd be like, hey, man, a little something for your trouble. So I do a ton of heroin. I could not pee for 12 hours, which sucked. I would just stand over the toilet, and then I'd stand for half an hour, and then sit. And all the while, I'm as much heroin as anybody could be. And so I'm like, nodding out and flopping.
Wow.
And so I tried that for a while, and then eventually just realized I wasn't gonna be able to pee. And then I sat on the couch.
Holy shit. Are you trying to pee? Does it feel like you're
horrible,
peeing?
man. You just can't pee.
Do you feel like
no,
you're
you
peeing?
don't feel like you
or
can.
Or you just feel like you have to pee?
I feel like I have to pee, because I did. Yeah.
You can't. You just can't.
You just can't.
Wow.
So yeah, that's just my particular problem. Most people say they can't shit, or they've got other things. But I did that, and then I sat on the couch for 10 hours, and it just felt like happy sleep is what I'd call it.
Okay.
It's like when you first wake up in the morning and you're not quite awake and not quite asleep, but I was like in a good mood with it and everything like that.
Kind of like Xanax kind of feeling?
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of like being sleepy.
Wow.
I don't remember it being extremely joyous or anything like that. And I had taken like Oxycontins and things like this before that, and like you'd get wisdom teeth removed or something, and so I'd had a few of those experiences where I'd had some oxys in high school and stuff, and it was never my drug of choice. But I remember you'd stay home, like your parents would go to work, and then I would like leave in my car to pretend to go to school, and I'd go to the bagel store and get a bagel, wait for them to leave for work, drive back to the house, and then just like ditch for the whole day, you know. I'd like drive to the edge of the driveway and then walk around and look and see if their car was still in the garage, you know. Classic. And then like be like, yes, and then go home, man, and
heroin snow day.
Yeah, I know. Oh, and yes, what I'm saying. So you'd pop 3 oxys, man, and you'd watch The Price is Right, and you were having a great day, man.
God bless you.
And you had that beautiful, pristine teenage mind, man, that hadn't been polluted by.
I remember kids in my high school would take like 15, 16 Xanax in a day. And I just never understood what you're even doing after a while. I understand somebody who goes maybe 1 or 2 a day.
Right.
After like 5, what was the most amount of pills were you ever scared of an overdose ever?
Thankfully, no, because of heroin. I was always very cautious with my dosing information. And with the heroin, for instance, I didn't take the whole 1/10 of a gram at once. I took a little bit of it, and then I'd measured out. I have a 100th of a gram scale. Get a scale, also. That's another good advice. Okay. Get a digital scale. $10 on Amazon. It's another good idea. Weigh your drugs, especially if you're doing hard drugs. I took a little bit, and it didn't seem like enough, and I took a little bit more, and I just kept edging it up and up and up until by the end of the night I had taken the 1/10 of a gram, which is too much. Don't do that.
Wow. And what'd you see the 1/10 of the gram? What do you remember? What is?
I remember being sleepy and not being able to pee. That's what I remember.
You don't think anything different when you're on it? You don't have any eye-opening?
No. There's no profound properties to doing heroin as far as I can tell.
Even on the come down, you don't have weird thoughts? That's the other question I have. What drug has the best come down?
Best come down where you're feeling. I guess it would be the least worst or something like that. I don't think the come down of any drug is well. There has to be one that's like kind of like, oh, this is not that bad, right?
Know?
Yes, I would say ketamine is very. You asking me about the best drugs or the craziest? In a way, none of my drug experiences have been that crazy because they happen inside your mind. I mean,
and you're doing it in a controlled way, though.
And I'm doing it in a very controlled way.
Yes. I think that's what's key is you did them.
I'm not out there with the cops.
You actually did them like sociology.
Yes.
It was almost an experiment in sociology.
Yes, I ran this experiment
or psychology, I guess, right? Like.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you learn from heroin? What did you learn from heroin?
You learn the practicals, which make that it's hard for me to pee on heroin. That's I know I keep repeating that, but it's so miserable to not being able to pee, man. I know. I hate not being able to pee, man. If you've ever been in that experience, man, it's worse. You learn that you get really itchy. You learn and that it feels really good to scratch too, because like you're on heroin and you're scratching yourself, and so it's like you can't feel the pain part of it.
Well, itch is a chemical reaction in the brain, so maybe it's that kind of.
I think the heroin for some reason creates histamines in your. I looked this up once in your skin. It's like a byproduct of doing heroin. It's something happens in your liver. So I did heroin a couple of times. Oh, and then after I did that 1/10 of the gram, I woke up the next morning. I freaked out all over again that I had heroin in my house, and I flushed the rest of it down the toilet.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, oh no, I have to get rid of the evidence or whatever like that. That was crazy.
So when's the next time you order it? Or is there a next time? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I think what happened was I tried it again, and I got very small amounts of it. I'd get 2/10 of a gram at a time. So like a gram of heroin would have cost like $180, and then like 2/10 of a gram is like $40, maybe $50-something.
So you'd say there's probably a lot of functional heroin addicts hanging around.
If they're getting it off the darknet, yeah, I think mostly what people are doing now is Roxys, which are these little blue pills that were they're like for people with bone cancer. I think they were never made in America, but they were made in Canada.
That's what everyone in my high school would take, Roxys.
You would take these things called Roxys, which are little blue OxyContin, but they have no Tylenol in them. They're just they're heroin pills, essentially.
Wow.
And now what happens is they make them, they're just like powdered sugar and fentanyl is what they make them with now because it's cheaper.
Have you ever had an encounter with fentanyl?
Yeah, with this.
Fetty Wap. Wow, what happened on Fetty? Did you order it?
Not on purpose, but I've taken plenty of these blue pills.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. My friend is an addict, first of all. So he's addicted to them, and so he's always got them on hand. And so
what is that
we'll crush them up and snort them. It's like heroin.
Oh, it's the same thing. All right.
Yes.
All right. So let's get to the bottom of this.
Fentanyl is just like a very, very high dose heroin.
Okay. Because they're making it like the new boogeyman.
Yeah, that's something I tell you about any drug. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do all of these drugs is that first of all, I'm a scumbag, and I just wanted to
talking to one right now. Pure scum out of Queens, New York. Shout out.
I just wanted to do stuff, that's bad. I'm just I want to smoke with cigarettes, and then I want to. And then the second thing is, once you start piecing, I was afraid of cocaine when I was a little kid. I was like, obviously weed's okay, that's just a goofy little thing, and liquor, everybody drinks and everything like that. Like cocaine, that's scary. And then I did cocaine, and I was like, this is all there is. It's like, you feel speedy and it's something, but you don't immediately die and your life isn't ruined or whatever. You just snorted something and you felt something for a couple hours, and then you go back to your regular life. But I was still.
So it's like reverse Santa. It's something they teach us as kids. Like, you're gonna drop dead, you're gonna die.
That's right.
And then we get into it, and it's like, no, you could figure it out.
Exactly. Yes. And not to say there, of course, aren't people that have their various troubles with the different drugs, but I would say most of those troubles probably stem, or at least coincide with psychological problems that most of those people had anyway, bad childhoods and just like general psychological problems that a lot of people are walking around with, and then they do drugs because they're unhappy people. And
they could get addicted to anything and die.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly. And gambling and, sex, whatever people get, food
man.
And stuff that people get into.
So fentanyl, you're saying, is just completely, it's overhyped.
Totally overhyped. And I'll tell you
You don't think the cartel's weaponizing it like they're saying?
I think that people, they use it for the sake of these heroin pills and everything, and for putting it in heroin because it's infinitesimal compared to the sizes of heroin.
Okay.
You would need a gram of heroin to equal the strength of 1/100th of a gram of fentanyl. So if you're sneaking it in from Mexico or whatever, or manufacturing it, it's just so much easier to transport. It just becomes a economic issue.
And they're just making a dramatic storyline because of the fractional.
Yes, because there's always a drug storyline in the news. There's always something going on, whether it's PCP or crack babies or whatever it is. So that's so
fentanyl feels exactly like heroin when it hits you.
That was my experience. Yeah, I couldn't. Wow. I wouldn't. If you gave me the Pepsi Challenge or something, I don't think I'd be able to tell the difference, man.
The fentanyl
yeah, man. Now people might think of it, maybe it's like a junkier high, maybe it's not as smooth. If I was a real connoisseur I'm not a big heroin guy, frankly. It's just something I've done.
Well, now it's starting to sound like heroin's like Balenciaga, and fentanyl's just the up-and-coming designer.
That's right. Yeah, it's the Raycon
shout out
of drug earbuds.
I think they're going to sponsor this.
Yeah, that's okay.
No,
that's
definitely
good.
not.
Yeah, it's not the Apple iPods or whatever like that, but it's
wild.
Something
okay.
Like. So that's the thing. That's all there is to cocaine. And then I did the heroin, and like I said, I was scared of doing heroin. They mailed it to me by accident. I was scared. But even as an experienced drug user, as I was at this point, who'd done cocaine and ecstasy and a bunch of other things, I was scared of heroin. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, this is all there is to heroin? Then you're asking me about doing it again. I wanted to inject it because I had just snorted it on this first time. And that's, I've done coke before. Something about snorting doesn't seem that scary. You know what I mean?
It's like Pulp Fiction.
Smoking, snorting. Pulp Fiction, that was a scary outcome. That's a bad example.
Sorry.
Yeah. But I was like, I wonder if there is because I did the heroin, and I was like, I can't pee, and I feel weird, but not super great. Maybe I'm missing something, right? So I was like, I bet. I'm gonna put this to. Also, I didn't want somebody to be like, "You haven't really done heroin, kid, man," unless you inject.
God forbid No. They can't heroin shame this man. This man earned his heroin.
A guy was gonna big time me because he was a real heroin guy, and a snorter, huh? You think he's some shit?
That's hilarious.
Right. That's in my crazy head though. That's what I'm like. I haven't really done heroin yet. I don't want anybody able to undermine my heroin bona fides.
You got cred with me always.
Yeah,
always.
Man. So what the fuck? So I was like, I'm gonna inject it. My dad was going through cancer at the time, so he had a bunch of needles in the house because he had to inject himself for some sort of thing. And so I stole a pack of needles, and then I asked another comedian who used to be I'm a stand-up comedian.
Of course.
If it matters to anybody.
We didn't mention that.
And then so I was.
Are you still doing stand-up?
Occasionally in New Orleans, because of COVID and stuff. I've been taking a long break. But I'd like to get back. So I asked another comedian who I knew was formerly a heroin addict. I was like, so like in the movies, like they use the spoon and they put the water in that's water they put in the spoon. Right? I was like asking him, right?
Your research?
I researched. Yeah, I'm like the Jane Goodall of.
There's no like YouTube video.
I went to go find a heroin monkey, and I asked him for I asked him what his recommend, and he's like, yeah, that's water. So you put it. I was like, so you just put the heroin in there, and then you stir it, and then you light it up, and then you pull it in and inject it, right?
Wow.
And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so when you put the needle in, I'm like asking him the technical questions.
Wow. So what is the form?
The form? What do you mean?
What is the needle form? What did he tell you? What did you learn?
So I was there. You can. I mean, anytime if you've ever given blood for a medical thing or something like that. I mean, you know where it is. You find your vein.
They tie it
It's
off.
the exact same thing. You tie it off with a belt or something like that, or a rubber band or something.
Man.
You just put a rubber band around
so
your arm.
can you even look at your? I'm not good at that. Did you look at it as you did?
Oh yeah. Well, I did it to myself. So yes, of course, I couldn't just
okay.
like poke around until I found it.
You never know. Oh.
I did it. And I asked my heroin friend here, I was like, so like when they put the needle in and then they pull back, that's so they could like the blood going in to, you see the blood going into the needle. That's so they know they hit the vein, right? And he's like, yeah. Anyway, my intuitions about this were all correct. That's why you do it. So if you ever watch a movie where somebody does heroin, they stick it in and then they always pull out and a little blood comes into the needle.
See, that's always the part of the movie I look away.
Oh, really? The reason they do that is so they know they hit a vein, so they know that they're in the bloodstream.
But you're not worried about getting oxygen in your blood? Isn't that a big word?
You do what you've seen people do a million times, man. You flip it over and you knock it like this and until a little bit squirts out and then everything like that.
I don't even have healthcare right now.
Every fucking heroin addict in the world can do it, man. It's
You're
like,
right. You know what,
yeah,
Jason?
Exactly.
I want to get in these streets.
So anyway, I injected. I went on heroin. And I looked up the injection amount, and I probably injected a very low, the lowest dose, because I was like, it's okay. I could go again. It's all right, man. Let's just inject in case it's going to be crazy stronger than snorting. So I injected, and then nothing happened.
Wow.
It just wasn't enough. And so then like I doubled that and I injected again.
So wait, how long did you wait? How long is that interim?
Maybe half an hour or something like that.
Wow.
It should, it's heroin. It should.
I just can't imagine myself just injecting myself and then pacing around my apartment like, I wonder when it's going to hit. Do you want another beer? Let's grab a beer.
I'm good on beer. I could pee if you want to take a pause.
Yeah, take a pause. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to keep it rolling. We'll just pause. Dude, it's so wild. All right, so back to... You doing heroin the second time?
So I was doing heroin. I got it. I don't know if this is the second, third, or fourth time. I probably snorted it a couple times just to like make sure I was on my on level footing.
So you shot it up.
So I shot it.
Dosed up more.
I go up more, and then after I probably shot it like 4 times. From that bag that I had gotten, and then I was like, okay, there's no difference between shooting it. So that's something else I could teach people. If there's, you can just snort it, man. You don't have to. There's nothing. Some types of heroin like. Black tar, you have to shoot them because they're not snortable. But if you
what is black tar heroin? I've always heard that.
So heroin
it's funny. It's such a great term.
It is a great term. Yeah. There's heroin comes in flavors like weed or anything else, and so you have your Afghan number 3, Afghan number 4, China white. Your Mexican brown, and then your black tar. Some of these have been refined to a point through chemical processes where they're like powdery. It's a very fine powder, kind of looks like powdered sugar. If it's finer than cocaine, for instance, that's how you could tell the difference if it was white.
So it's like sand.
It's like sand.
Okay.
And so some of those ones you can snort, and then some of them, when you get like a black tar heroin, it looks like hash. It looks like a black chunk of taffy or something like that. Okay. Yeah, and so you have to break off a little piece of that, weigh it, and then dissolve it in water and mix it around and inject it. You can't snort that.
Wow.
I never tried that. I only tried Afghan I only tried Afghan. Yeah, I figured like, do I have to try every flavor of heroin?
No,
come
I think you covered most of the flavors.
What is it, ridiculous?
It's like going to Ralph's Ices and going crazy.
I know, man. Yeah, I don't have to get the Vermonster of heroin. Yeah, I could just get a couple Rocky Roads, man.
Who gets to name the flavors of heroin? I'm jealous.
Yeah, man. You know all the flavors of heroin. That's how you know, man. That's how you know.
31 flavors, baby. Right?
You said it, brother. So I only got the snort. Even the ones I injected were technically snortable. Also, yeah. You can inject those too.
But they're low grade injectable.
They come as powder. They're a snortable powder, so you can do it, but they can go either way. Whereas the black tar you can only inject.
Those are like headlining heroines.
Yes. They could middle, they could headline, they could host the Academy Awards,
openers,
whatever
middles,
they want to do.
Features. Okay.
They're versatile. Yes.
So what do you feel off of the difference of
Snorting versus injecting? Yeah. Nothing. That was my point. There's no difference. Yeah.
And you think it
definitely feels seedier because you're fucking putting needles in your arm and stuff like that. But no, I couldn't notice anything difference. I think the reason a lot of people are injecting in general is because maybe it's cheaper to get black tar or, injectable forms of heroin. So as a junkie consumer or something, maybe that does better for some people.
So heroin's the dirtiest you felt doing a drug?
Yeah, it is, man. And then I didn't get addicted or anything like that. I told some people that I've done heroin, and of course they'll freak out on you, because they're like, I told some friend, I think I have one friend who isn't my friend anymore, just because I told him that I did heroin.
People are so lame. I remember when you first told me years ago, and I was like, you did it once and you're done, and you're like, it's very rare I do it. I'm like, bro, you're a warrior of time and space. I really, when I think back on you telling me this, I just think like he's a psychological warrior. Because you've been through shit other people go, no, that'll destroy you. That'll ruin you. And it's like,
every one of these things that you think you're afraid of or that you've heard is so bad, it's like that Patsy Cline sign. Because is that all there is to is that all there is to crack? I smoked crack, man. That was another thing. So
after did crack.
Oh yeah, for sure. Wow. And so it was on my list.
Fuck yeah, dude.
So anyway, I'd done coke a number of times, and then I was like my snorting versus injecting thing. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have some crackhead tell me that I don't really do cocaine because I haven't smoked.
Valor.
Yeah, stolen valor. Exactly. Perfectly put. Yes. That's the mojist.
So you go, all right, when do you decide you're doing crack? At breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Oh, man. I do all my I don't even wake up for, breakfast. But I'll admit, that's my drug tendency. I'm not a big morning person.
Okay.
All of these are evening things that I'm doing by myself.
So the day you decide to do crack, you wake up at noon?
Wake up at noon. You'd like to do your crack as early in the day as possible, however, because, it'll keep you up. God knows, all these stimulants. And so I got a crack pipe, like
Where'd
you go to the bodega or something like that. They use some. I got the kind with the glass bulb, at the end.
What does a crack pipe run?
Oh, $5.
Saying before the cameras cut that Amazon is now selling crack pipes as straws for $8.
Glass straws, man.
So where do you buy your crack pipe?
Oh, you buy your crack pipe at the bodega, at the corner store. If you live in a big city, I live in New Orleans now. Or if you live in New York, maybe in Manhattan, the bodegas don't have crack pipes, although some of them do. If you go down to the Lower East Side, those bodegas definitely do have crack pipes. That must be where I got it too. I was probably like at an open mic, and then
you've been there recently. It's sketch right
Where
now.
Is it on Lower East Side? Yeah.
It's my favorite part of town, but it's sketch.
I must have lived here in sort of a golden age before COVID, where it's like. It was max clean and nice and everything.
It's a golden age now. You just have to ride the city bike. You got to be mobile. It's hard to stab you on the city bike.
Man. Easy to get hit by a fucking car door. Say that. I don't know. I don't fuck with them city bikes. I don't like people biking around New York City. I hate biking.
Where do you get off?
Well, yeah, man. Go fucking bike in the woods, you scumbags. The fuck off the street. We're trying to walk and drive here, you pieces of shit.
Oh god. All right, so you're smoking crack. How do you do it?
So you're smoking crack, man. You get your crack pipe, and then smoking crack is very self-explanatory, or it's very intuitive, I should say.
Were you afraid of this one going in? Or
I sure was. Yeah, of course, man.
I'm glad.
I'm
glad
every
you're afraid
new
of
one
stuff.
of these horizons, man. Whatever it is, because you heard about it, and there's some horror story associated with it. So say it's ketamine. You've heard of K-holes. Oh, you're going to do too much, and then
What's a K-hole?
K-hole is when you've overdosed on ketamine, and then you start to freak out and have some sort of psychological breakdown, or you
think that's what happened to like a
yourself.
Britney Spears or one of those people?
I couldn't say. I don't know.
No, alleged. Yeah. I think.
Oh, I never heard the story. She was doing ketamine.
No, they all have breakdowns in LA, and I remember hearing ketamine being used a lot out there.
I think these people have huge pressures, and they're probably drinking and doing whatever. And then I really don't know. I've never met any famous people. You're the most famous person I ever met.
Hell of a drug.
I know. Yeah, man. So I've done cocaine a few times. That I smoked crack. You put the crack in the end of the crack pipe, and then you light it from underneath, and it starts to crack. It kind of turns into a liquidy type thing. You smoke it, and you get high like you did cocaine, but it happens even quicker, and it lasts for less time. Let me tell you this, kids out there. Third recommendation, man: smoke crack. Don't do cocaine. Crack so much better than cocaine, man. Yeah. First of all, like the high is like as good or better.
Okay.
And second of all, it doesn't. Your nose isn't fucking bleeding and aching at the end of the day because it's all going through your mouth.
And you won't need surgery. That deviated septum.
No deviated septum, man. Okay. No blowing. No problems.
So what is crack? 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna want to smoke it. I would also say like just get a half a gram. Like with some of these, you don't need to be like sitting around blowing a whole 8-ball of crack. I don't think. But maybe you
Good
do.
Advice.
Yeah. Again,
advice.
I shouldn't tell anybody what to do. But
That's great.
yeah,
you're the best.
You smell. Hey, yeah, man. You gotta, man. You gotta live your own life, man. Fucking drink bleach. I don't give a fuck. Do what you gotta do.
Tide Pods.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Chew on Tide Pods, man. Go swim with sharks.
You do. All right. Explain. It's 15-minute highs.
Yeah, something like that. 15 half hour. You get a little piece of crack. I mean, you don't measure it out. You have your half gram of crack. You rip off a little piece of crack. You put it in the top of the crack pipe. You light it from underneath. It sizzles. It makes a little crackling sound.
So what is the texture of crack? I've never held crack.
Like rock candy.
Oh, wow. So how do you break it off? With you need a little chisel?
It crackles apart like candy, sort of. It's not quite as brittle as rock candy.
Like a candy.
It's maybe a little softer or something, but that's...
So you can tell like a good crack chef from a bad crack chef?
Oh, no, I don't think I could. I don't know of a good crack recipe either. Because what you got to do is you take the cocaine, and then it's either
Is there crack edibles?
No.
Sorry, I'm
It
sorry.
would have to be cocaine edibles. I think that's how Len Bias died, though, isn't it? The basketball player. He put too much cocaine into a Gatorade or a Sprite or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
He drank like 7 grams of cocaine.
What?
Yeah. So you can eat it if you want to, but buyer beware.
What?
Yeah. So you smoke the crack. It's great. It's over before you know it. You smoke a whole half gram of crack in, 2 hours or something.
So what was your night? Could I just hear your...
Downs, man. The good it's a
good
much better come down.
Yes,
for sure. Because as you're coming down off coke, the numbness in your face fades away, and there's the pain of having inhaled all this powder. Your nose doesn't want you snorting powder into it all the time.
So you think cocaine is just the most frivolous drug?
Yeah. Okay. Crack is not my favorite either, but it's better. If you're going to do coke, smoke crack.
So coke goes to last place now.
Coke is bad. Man, all this is totally personal too, man. Okay. Obviously, some people like it.
No, your opinion.
Yeah,
course,
I mean, I don't love heroin either.
But you seem like an expert opinion in my opinion.
Yeah. I could tell you a few things.
Opinion squared.
Yeah, man. The heroin. The reason I didn't get addicted to heroin is just because it doesn't appeal to me. It's just not my type of thing. The
ritual seems like too much.
For better or worse, the things I do all the time is drinking and smoking weed, man.
Okay,
and I drink way too much. I'm basically an alcoholic, and it's terrible for you.
I had to pull back after pandemic. I was there during pandemic, but lately I've been decent. It's hard, man. It's a fun drug.
It's consistent and it's fun. And,
I still personally think the most dangerous drug is attention. It's impacted the whole country.
Oh yes. What about love?
I mean, that one's...
what about heartache?
I think love is just a disguise for other emotions.
Oh, yeah. Like sex, desire, and...
it's either lust or somebody trying to fill a void.
Yeah. A void in their pussy.
Hey, right. Shout out my mom.
Shout out Mrs. Lavin. Yeah. What?
Mrs. Bam.
No.
But all right, so you like crack. All right, so we're a pro-crack family.
Listen,
we're a pro-crack family here.
I'm not a crack advocate. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do cocaine, smoke crack.
So you must have loved Tom Ford.
Why? What do you do?
Not Tom Ford.
Rob Ford was
the...
so stupid. It's like
I love
Charles Manson smoked weed. You're not like a fan of.
Bro, I loved him. He made crack cool to me.
Oh yeah, man. There was Marion Barry back in the '90s, who was the crack mayor.
He was a classic.
Chris Rock used to have some good jokes about him.
Classics.
Smoked crack, got his job back. He did better with it because he got to keep his job. I think Rob Ford ended up having to quit.
He did die.
Did he die?
Yeah, rest in peace. Yeah,
to the real ones, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, crack, not that great. And then, but better than coke. And then where did I go from there? Oh, and then all of a sudden you get to a point where you're like, hey, I've done a bunch of pills. I drank, smoked, did cocaine, crack, heroin. Like, I'm like running out of shit.
God bless you. You're my
Molly,
hero.
and ecstasy and stuff like that. I'm sort of like I check off a few more boxes. I'm basically done here. You know what I mean? So then it just becomes like collecting all the butterflies, Wow. If you go onto the darknet markets, they have the list of all the different, so you could search between the things, and do you want it being shipped from this country or that country? How much do you want to spend? And so it's delineated by psychedelics, disassociatives.
Have we done ayahuasca?
I've done 5-MeO DMT, which I think is supposed to be the
all right. So what else do they have?
The
listed
major
here?
component there. So then I'm looking at all the stuff. Okay, what else is there to do? There's
it sounds like the stock exchange of just crack and coke. And
yes, it's great. It's like an eBay but it's all buy it now. There's no negotiating. But
all right, so wait a minute. How did you decide on meth? Was there a moment in your day? Do you remember the moment?
I've done Adderall and meth are very similar. So
are
I wasn't.
They? Oh,
yes,
are they? What's
yes. In fact, if you get generic Adderall, you'll see it says amphetamine salts on it.
Okay,
so
wow.
it's just a different derivation of amphetamines, as meth is a derivation of amphetamine.
Oh wow.
So, but it's you got to try it. So because it's on your list. So I got the meth and I ground it up and I smoked it and I snorted it and it doesn't feel euphoric for me, at least. Like I was thinking I was gonna smoke meth or do meth and then I'd like have a great, happy, good feeling experience. That was not. I got nothing out of it.
Why
like
did
that.
you think
it was a total
that?
waste of time?
Why the fuck would you?
Why are
think
people
that?
doing it? What the fuck is it for?
You ever go to a gas station in Arizona? I don't know. They want to do cardio at midnight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just for people who want to be running around and.
Did you do anything wild? What'd you do? First of all, I admire you for doing it. I know you're doing it for.
I want it for science.
You're pretty much like a person where it's like, hey, I'm gonna tie this rope around a tree and just go into this cave and see where it goes. You know what I mean? Like that's what you're doing.
We gotta see what's at the bottom of this.
That's what you're fucking doing. You're
man.
sick for it, and I love it.
I'm doing it for all you sinners out there.
So you decide to do it, and how does it taste?
Like nothing chemically, I guess, but not bad. Tastes fine.
What drug tasted the best?
Tastes the best
and the worst.
Sometimes cocaine will be a little sweet.
Ooh.
As far as tastes the best, that's a good question.
I like weed.
Certain liquors, of course. If
okay,
you're,
let's go to worst. What's the worst?
Oh man.
Because I know crack smells like iron. Like when I smell
it doesn't
on the
taste
subway.
that bad though. It tastes fine. Yes.
Okay.
Again, sort of chemically, but not totally unpleasant. What tastes? The drip from ketamine is not that good. The drip from anything besides cocaine is really bad. And what is a drip? Excuse me. Nomenclature. When you snort something, it like stops at the back of your nasal cavities, and then as your saliva kind of slowly starts dripping it down the back of your throat. And so you could feel that whenever you're. Wow,
that sounds so annoying.
You could feel.
I've never snorted anything.
Oh no, okay.
I've only done a couple pills, but it was whack.
Yep.
But that sounds like the worst part of.
It's not bad. You gotta.
Is it just like wet sand hitting the back of your?
Yeah, but it's.
It
feels a little weird, but it's not.
So it's just uncomfortable. It's not painful.
No, and if you're a coke guy where you're snorting a lot of coke, you like it because a lot of these. It's like when I was saying like during the mushroom trip, like the bad part lets you know if it's feeling real bad now. Oh, and later it's gonna be feeling really intensely good. It's like the drip lets you know it's working. Like, this is what I remember. This is part of the experience.
It's part of the ritual. Yeah, what drug has your favorite ritual? Drinking, probably.
Ooh, well, as far a ritual side of it, man, weed and rolling blunts is cool, man. I was a teenage blunt guy. We all thought we were little rap star gangsters out in the suburbs. You know,
we all are despicable.
Yeah. So it was like. So learning how to roll Dutches and stuff became a ritualistic thing. And then the smoking of blunts is something about the inhale and the big exhale of like blunt smoke and stuff like that is very relaxing. All right,
how about the dark drugs?
Of the harder drugs, I'd say, shit, man. The ritual stuff is usually boring stuff because it's like all this pre-shit you have to do as far as like.
But is it
if I'm doing
ritual's
MDMA,
a big part
I'll
of
get
it?
pills and I'll weigh out the MDMA. I'll weigh out 150 milligrams or 200 milligrams of MDMA and put them in each empty pill thing. And so there's a ritual there. Ketamine, I'll weigh out a 1/10 of a gram of ketamine and I'll split it into 4 things on the scale. And then I will snort one in each nostril to start and then go lay down for a half hour and do my ketamine tripping. And then come back a half hour, snort one more with the left nostril, and then come back half hour later. And
what do you think about when you go into these? Like, I can't imagine what you're thinking about. Just nothing?
During these times, I'm
do you
thinking
try
about
to have
getting
prompts?
the ketamine in my nose. I'm like,
okay,
because
so
you're
just all about
using
using it.
Yeah.
Do you ever have like prompts for yourself or set up tasks to do while you're on these drugs to try to trigger something, or you're just going straight to comforts?
I'm typically with these things, I'm going straight for comforts. If I was on some psychedelics, I would take a couple tabs acid and walk around New York City and like walk through Washington Square Park and see the colors and the people.
Because I'd love if you're going to revisit any of these in the future, I'd love for you to just like sit down and take the SAT. Oh.
You'd have to have me take it once just to start or whatever, I don't think we could use my high school score.
No. We'd have to. No. We need to reevaluate.
We got to reevaluate. Yeah,
we got to see how the hardware is holding up.
Practice test now, and then we'll see what it compares.
But I think it'd be fun to see what drug you're smartest on.
Oh God! Oh, so I'm gonna have to take the SAT 10 times to redo all.
Or
this
maybe a 5-question, some kind of abbreviated.
Some little.
Maybe just the bar exam.
We'll get a little IQ test, man. Yeah. The bar exam, right.
All right, so you're doing meth. What happened with meth?
Man, meth sucked. Like I was saying, man, your chest is killing you, and you think you've like done too much and that you've hurt yourself. Meth is one of those things where I was like, oh, I've done something to permanently damage myself here. This was a bad idea.
Heroin never made you. You only crossed the line in your mind.
Heroin, I'll tell you this, man. Unless you overdose, it's pretty neutral for your health.
Wow.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's not going to gain you any calories.
Really?
It's not going to. Unless you scratch yourself, you'll have scratches on your body. That's the negative
It doesn't
side
change
of it.
homeostasis.
Yeah, exactly. The next day, you're going to wake up and your liver and your heart and your everything is going to completely work.
You got to take this to Congress, buddy.
Yeah. Well, they know. I mean, when they give you morphine at the hospital and stuff, morphine is what your liver turns heroin into.
Yeah.
So so they just give you the direct morphine when they give it to you at the hospital.
Wow, what a weird fucking thing. Okay.
So
that's a hard drug, morphine. I remember watching kids do that in high school.
They had morphine?
Yeah, they somehow got it.
Oh, they got it from a doctor.
They were bad addicts back in the day, man. I saw a lot of kids do a lot of shit.
It would be ideally if heroin was legal, it wouldn't be heroin. They would just give you morphine because there would be because why make it something that your body has to turn into something else? Why not just give you
me
the thing that it's going to be?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so your body is taxed by the chemistry that goes on with heroin. That's the taxing.
It's like it's taxed when you eat a sandwich. I mean, yes. I mean, your heroin.
What do you think taxes your body more, a multivitamin or heroin?
Yeah. Yes. I perhaps the multivitamin. I don't know. But you'd have to ask.
I piss it right out.
Yeah, it's so great, man. It's like bright,
fun,
yellow
dude.
piss.
Satisfying piss.
Yeah.
So meth. Wait a minute. So all right, explain your day with meth. What day did you set up for yourself?
Oh, well.
What part of the year was it?
I've been yeah. Try to do it during cold weather if you can too, because you're gonna sweat.
Really? Oh, you sweating?
Yeah,
out?
you're like, oh god. You just feel so grimy and gross and like oily and like your chest.
Okay, so where'd you do it? Like a garage?
Oh, in my apartment.
Oh, in New York.
Yes, in New York in an apartment. So I'm in my apartment. I'm smoking meth.
Did you have plans that night? No first date planned or anything?
No. Yes.
You ever go to a first date off one of these drugs?
No, definitely not.
Just check.
I mean, smoking and drinking for sure. But
of course.
But no, not that. I did, I do it. It wasn't. There's nothing to say in that regard. I probably woke up, had lunch.
No, I just wonder if you had another day. I'm thinking about the surrounding universe and you going back into it, maybe recovering from. Is there ever a time where you come down from a hard drug and you're like, I'm at a diner with my grandma?
Oh, no.
No, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
no, that's all like fiction from, those are stories from fiction. It's like this idea like, I'm like, I woke up and I'm like, in my car.
So
and
you're
I'm
giving
in Nevada,
yourself buffer
around,
room.
What happened?
You're giving yourself buffer room. Not that you blacked out. No, not that you blacked out. It's that you're recovering from it or you're so close from use to like having to go to a birthday function.
I've been in those situations for sure.
No. That's what I'm talking about. Not you blacked out. No. That you have to go fulfill social duties to your family.
Oh, for sure, man. I was in Vegas with my dad, and I brought heroin with me to Vegas. Yeah, because I was like...
And does he know anything at all?
Oh, no. Although I obviously did too much because we were supposed to meet to go to dinner. We were at separate hotel rooms, and we were supposed to meet to go to
What are we doing? The Wynn? What are we doing?
We have a deal at the Paris, actually.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's right across from Bellagio, though. So we get the view of the fountains, right? And it's like $30 a night. It's like free. So point being, my dad opens my hotel door room because he had been pounding on my hotel door room. I'd been in my hotel room, nodded off on heroin.
Nice.
Natch. And he's pounding on the door. I'm totally passed out to the world. Nice. He goes down to the hotel. He had paid for the hotel room, so he goes down, gets a key to my room, comes in. I have like heroin out on a like the hotel like brochure or whatever like that. I've probably got like my little bag of heroin out there with lines cut and everything like that. He doesn't even see that. He's like, we're supposed to be going out to dinner. We're going out to dinner with your cousins. What are you doing in here?
Wow.
Meanwhile, of course, you feel like a huge piece of shit.
You felt shame to that.
Oh, of course, yes.
Okay, I don't know.
Yes.
At this.
Thankfully, he did not see the heroin. And I think even if he saw it, he wouldn't have even known.
But I think at this time of reality, I don't know if there's shame still even attached to the stuff because there's no shame attached to anything.
Of course, there's emotions, and then there. I mean. I disagree with that, Mike. Yes.
I'm just saying you should be the Lizzo of heroin.
Where it's like beautiful at any level of intoxication. Doesn't matter how emotionally fat I am.
After all these drugs, you believe in God?
No, I went in not believing in God, and I continue to. I don't. I would say I'm not religious, is the way I put. But no, I don't have any. God has never had any impact in my life whatsoever. I would do these liquid mushrooms that I'd order off the dark web.
Okay.
He had the biggest thing about how he would get all the mushrooms and he would soak them in alcohol and he would make this mushroom extract and you would take it as it would be this little 2 milliliter vial of liquid that you could just pour into a soda. And it was like, instead of having to have the terrible taste of chewing mushrooms, you would just take this liquid mushroom extract.
Taste bad. I got it.
Anyway, this guy got arrested also for selling stuff on the dark web. Like I'm going to be when this fucking video hits the shelves.
Yeah, I'm going to send this to you before.
Then, I know. I want to see it. I want to approve an edit.
Yeah.
Dad, let me out to dry. I hope do you have an umbrella policy? Do you have any kind of First Amendment insurance or something like that?
Yeah, my asshole.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be living fucking under your bed upstairs. When the FBI comes after me. What was my point that I was about to make? Do you remember what we were talking about? Forgive me, I've lost my train here. We were talking
but it was
about
a fun
the heroin,
train.
The liquid mushroom guy.
The liquid mushroom.
So this guy got arrested. His name was. So it turned out it wasn't really liquid mushrooms. It was this like research chemical that he was buying.
Wow.
That is like analog. It's similar to. It's like 4-ACO DMT or something like that.
Wow.
And
this is allegedly.
No, that you could look it up.
That's
for real that
he
was doing that.
Wow.
Yes, that's a print. That's a printed story in the media. But
wow,
so this guy got arrested with.
Just selling experimental drugs to people.
He was sent it. Well, the thing is, I think it's another one of these things that your liver I think the deal with mushrooms is it's psilocybin, and then your liver turns it into a thing called psilocin, which is what makes you trip on mushrooms. Whereas with this, it's a research chemical, but your liver also turns it into psilocin, if not totally into some degree. Anyway, I've been taking this shit for mushroom tripping, and the last mushroom trip that I had with this stuff, it was a bad trip. I was feeling really bad for most of it. There wasn't the elated, happy aspect to it. Because sometimes you have a bad time, and that's life, man. People would say, was I in a good mood beforehand, or people have all their reasons for things. I've been in a bad mood and taken mushrooms and had a nice time. I mean, it's things will just happen the way they happen.
Okay, fair.
And but again, I'm an experienced enough tripper now. I'm like, hey man, a couple hours of this, everything's gonna be fine. But the very profound insight that I did have from this last mushroom trip was that not only is life meaningless, but that like life is like a poison promise. Life is bad for every living thing, and every living thing, from the smartest person to the lowest blade of grass, should commit suicide and like and deny God this or whatever. For whatever reason we're here, we should reject this idea of conscious of being. I can't speak for the rocks because I don't know what kind of experience they're having, but that was like I was like, this to exist is torture. To have any sort of consciousness whatsoever is a guarantee. Life is not worth living. Was my
wow.
For not just for humans either, but for all living things.
No, that's interesting.
That was my profound revelation on my last mushroom trip.
Interesting. So does that infer that something's watching? Is that why you're?
It would imply it, first of all.
Yeah.
And then,
sorry, I'm drunk and high. Please, spark notes me.
Yes, I'm a drug addict and a grammarian.
That's amazing. Sorry.
No, man. Doesn't mean I don't know my.
I'm just
my
a full-fledged out to lunch.
No, goofball. So what was your question again? Does that mean something?
Sorry. So you think something's watching then?
I don't. No.
Okay. Because it feels
I'm anthropomorphizing this idea of God. It's like whatever this offer that we've been giving as conscious beings, we should.
So that's you rejecting a contract. That's what you're saying.
It's like I don't want to sign this contract to be nothing. And not only do I not want to personally, like I think this is bad news for everybody. And so do I really think that? That was what I was feeling and thinking during the mushroom trip. Has that fully convinced me that is an objective truth? Not necessarily, but it has given me a lot to think about since I've been,
So what was your best psychedelic experience?
Oh, man, my best one nothing so profound happened on it. My dad had an apartment in Brooklyn Heights back in the day, and I was on the roof, and it was the middle of the afternoon. He must have been like gone on a trip or something like that, so I had the apartment to myself. I'm on the roof. Everybody's at work. Nobody's bothering me. I'm there by myself. It's right on the water. I'm looking up at the sky. The sky is going crazy and changing colors and emotions, man. I'm like, every half hour I start crying from like extreme positive feeling just because like the positive feeling is hitting me so much. So that was what was I feeling? What was I thinking about? I was just feeling grateful and loving euphoria. And euphoria of existence. And so that's why I would say like mushrooms is the most profound thing like that, because I worship emotions. I think emotions are so important, and the emotional experience you'd have on mushrooms is second to none. It's
what do you think about the whole microdosing movement?
I think that's nothing. I don't think that's anything.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's doing anything.
You would never
for anybody,
consider that with any other drug, though?
With acid or with MDMA. What would people be microdosing?
Fentanyl.
Yeah. Fentanyl? No, you can't imagine that. That's a microdose in and of itself.
Couldn't you cut that? I don't know. Couldn't you cut that even more? No.
Yeah, you could.
I'm sure people are.
It would be pointless, though. A lot of things have thresholds. So, like below a certain threshold, you can't even feel. MDMA, for instance, is like this. If you take below a certain point, you can't just take 50 milligrams of it. It's not like that would be a third of taking 150. It's like if you don't go past a certain point, you don't feel anything. Yeah.
So, and also, how was DMT? What was that about?
The regular DMT is great. It's a very fun novelty, is what I'd say. It's like the top 20 minutes of an acid trip, but with no consequences. You could do it at 7 a.m. and you could go to work at 8 a.m. There's no lingering effect from it whatsoever. You smoke it, you go to like a world where everything is moving and going crazy and geometric patterns are forming and everything like that. And then after 15 minutes, like, you come down from it and there's it's all over and it's like nothing ever happened.
Wow. All right. So crack and DMT are similar, or what is the difference?
They're similar in that they both have short durations. I would say.
How would they compare to each other?
They're totally dissimilar. I mean, crack is a stimulant and you're not seeing anything while you're on it.
So just like in summary, what's a day on crack and what's a day on DMT?
Day on crack is you'd probably be doing more cleaning and walking around more, and you're up and out of bed and doing things and moving around. And a day on DMT is sitting on a couch or laying on a bed and not moving and usually closing your eyes, and then just crazy psychedelic, fucking poster from a record shop things, that you're
So it's
seeing.
A light show on DMT.
Like it's not a psychedelic. And there's no emotional content to it whatsoever.
You had nothing impact you on DMT.
No, there's no emotional content to it whatsoever. Yeah.
What'd you think about on DMT?
What did I think about? I think it's great. It's a super fun.
No. You're sitting there watching patterns. Are you thinking anything?
I'm thinking, look at that.
You're never thinking, cool. What's the point? No.
Okay. Not at all. No, it's totally fun. Trip type thing where you're just going, oh, look at all this interesting stuff. That's fun. This is interesting. I hope more interesting stuff happens. And then there's like a bit of disappointment physical. When you realize it's wearing off.
It's just a physical back and forth, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if you just get more physically high than everyone else, maybe. I'd love to interview somebody else who's also been on it and see what they think. Or do you think people just, like the same way with news and politics, like people have a way of putting a narrative on their personal story? Is that what you think it is?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, man. And
okay, so you think a lot of...
And me included, I'm sure.
No, but you seem very scientific about this. You're looking up dosage. You're not... Yeah. It feels like you're approaching this with your own dentist
Might
method.
just be my personality or something that I'm. Maybe it seems that way, but I'm just some goofball who likes doing drugs. I mean, it's not a.
I know, but I feel like I always learn something from you where I'm like, he must know something. He's bended reality so much.
Oh yeah, there's no. What I'd say about that, people could say like, oh, I did ayahuasca, now I believe in God, or I've done these things, and now I would say there's really nothing to learn from drugs. You might be able to confirm things that you already know and already feel. I guess that would be my overarching lesson, is that like, drugs are fun and they'll make you feel different ways. Maybe what you could learn is that like, there's different ways of seeing if you're. But I came in pretty hip, even into doing drugs. I was already a atheist type of kid who was into George Carlin and wacky ideas.
You feel
and
like the
crazy
exception
stuff.
to the rule, definitely.
Yeah, maybe I'm not.
But it's an interesting idea. Like, drugs just makes you see reflections of yourself. It's not going to make you see anything that's not already in your mind, probably.
I don't think anybody who's going into drugs a bad person and then being like, oh, now I get it, and now I'm going to be.
It's weird. People are selling this ayahuasca stuff,
person,
DMT stuff to be.
Right. 5-MeO DMT, which is a whole different kettle of fish, is is probably the strongest drug I've ever done. It's like it's another one of those things like meth where you're like, oh no, I did something that's really gonna hurt me here.
Oh really?
Yeah, like that's your first instinct when you first smoke it, and then you're like, oh no, I feel really crazy weird here, man.
Oh wow.
And then you go into like crazy psychedelic land.
You shoot off the planet.
Yeah.
So what do you think the 5 worst drugs you did to yourself were in order of like the most damage?
Well, let's see, just in no particular order. I'd say meth, alcohol, fucking as far as being damaging.
Well, you said that DMT strain.
MDMA, DXM.
What's DXM? That sounds like
DXM
dial-up.
is what's in Robitussin. If you heard of people robo-tripping and stuff like that.
What is that about?
DXM, it used to be legal. Like you could just buy it on literal eBay.
I remember that. I remember that was
back
like
when
a
I was
headline.
in college.
Yeah.
So my buddy got like a big jar of it and he gave it to me because he's like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? And
I love that he bought it. Okay.
I took it, and it was a very mild psychedelic experience. You're just kind of like hazy. I played like NBA 2K, whatever, with my buddy, and exactly. Yeah. And he like beat me for the first time. That's how I knew I was tripping, man.
You were fucked up, bro.
Yeah, he finally.
Doesn't
like,
count.
Oh man, I had Ray Allen. I was with the Spurs, whatever. So the Bucks. What was Ray Allen? It doesn't matter. But so the point 2 weeks after that, I was like. I thought I would never. My brain was like working noticeably slower. I'd scared myself that I was going to be like I'd permanently made myself stupider for the rest of my life.
Sounds like a tough drug. What was it again?
DXM.
Interesting. Yeah, like what are these? Have you ever done the K2 or any of these? I'm afraid of these new weed shops in Manhattan because I don't trust that it's not K2.
Oh yeah, I've done those like THC 9 or some of those weird things. Bro. Yes, it's just like shittier weed. It's just like weed that doesn't work as well. And I never did spice or K2 or bath salts. I guess I should admit that. I haven't completed my list here. But
okay, thank God. I don't know if you should do those. TT Jerry did not co-sign those.
Didn't she?
Like those.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I can't go living my life based
By
on everything TT does.
Yeah,
exactly.
She's an oracle.
Sometimes I got to do Jason things that TT might not approve of. I know she has connection to another realm. But I like anything else though, whether it be heroin or crack or anything else. I would say I'll find out for myself. Thank you very much. I'm willing to try it, especially in small amounts, and work my way up and see what happens. I don't want to hurt myself, of course, but I've run into so many of those barriers where everybody would say, this is crazy. You can't do this drug. It's going to have a permanently bad effect on you the second that you do it. And all of those things have been incorrect.
None of them.
Even meth, I would say. If you ever did want to try meth, my recommend just get 1/10 of a gram and throw the rest of it. There's nothing you're learning in the rest of that 9/10 of a gram.
What'd you learn about meth? What'd you learn?
You learned that how much your chest can hurt when you're
so your chest was just pounding,
aching.
It felt like Alien.
Aching heart.
That fucking scene in Alien.
Man. It felt like there was a rock inside of my chest that was hurting my heart.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, it sucks.
So meth is the worst experience, it sounds like.
Meth is bad. Alcohol has had, it made me fat, and it also hurts my heart, and it's, I have fungi toenails, but I can't take the fungus medication because I have high liver enzymes because I won't stop drinking. So I'll just have fungi toenails.
Drinking gets all of us, man.
Yeah, man. Drinking's bad for you. But it's so great.
It's so fun.
It's like it's the best part of life.
My favorite drugs just make me dizzy.
Oh yeah, I like being
drinking
sleepy.
and weed make me dizzy as fuck. I love it.
Yeah, man. Weed and alcohol together too.
But man, I think you should write a book for real.
Oh yeah,
I think you really should. I'd love to. I'd help it out.
Just about drug stuff?
Yeah, I think
it's funny that you're interested in this because I tried to explain this darknet thing. I wanted to once I figured out about the darknet, I wanted to show everybody. I'm like, hey, fucking jerks, you can buy any drug you wanna. Because everybody I know does drugs. I was like, hey, everybody, drugs on the internet. Yeah. What the fuck? And everybody's like, oh no, I don't even want to see that shit. Whatever.
No, dude, I met you in comedy 7-8 years ago at this point, and you mentioned this, and it's been in my head, and I've wanted to do something about it.
Cool.
Because it's interesting.
It is to me, at
least. It's really weird. I mean, you should do not some kind of pro-drugs book, but a book about, hey, if you're gonna do this, you might want to check in with me.
I've been trying to drop a few bars of wisdom here if people can pick up on it, man. You got to learn for yourself. And also my experiences with things, heroin doesn't stick to me because I'm just not that really into it. The effect of it isn't that good for me. And I like peeing, and it's always fucking with my peeing every time I'm doing this goddamn... God. Get your prostate checked routinely, I think, would be another good advice, because maybe I got a tumor or something like that. But
no.
I know. That's what took down old dear papa.
But do you have anything to plug? I don't know if you're promoting anything.
Sure. I wrote a book called Net.
You wrote a book? What is the book about?
It's a book of comedic short stories.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and so it's on Amazon. If you go to jasondennis.org, you can find the link from there.
Oh, that's great. I'm buying
You can find a clip of me doing stand-up. And if I ever have anything else interesting.
But what's the craziest thing you've done after a hard drug?
Craziest thing?
Tried to go out and do something even normal where you
tried to do stand-up on cocaine, for instance.
Oh, okay. That sounds horrible. Like a disaster. Disaster.
Oh, man. Because drunk high, man, forget about it. I could do stand-up high and drunk with my eyes closed, and I've done it a million times. But cocaine, your timing is way off. You're in your head. It's not.
My God.
It's just does not. You're sweating. You feel terrible.
That should be a clip. I want to see that crowd work clip.
God, man. I don't even know if it went bad or good. It was just. It felt so bad to do it that it wasn't.
Oh my God.
It wasn't
those
worth
laughing Buddha shows.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. All right. No. It was 5 minutes of stand up, and then they gave me 5 minutes of notes afterward. I got to stand there and hear what.
But what
some
about
16-year-old has said.
Besides stand up? Have you ever even just tried to go grocery shopping on meth? Or
I've been. What have I done? Like I said, I walk around the city on acid, so I'm sure I did some shopping or things like that there. I've driven and drive. It's not a good thing to say, but I've driven and drove a million times. Yes, if you're gonna drink and drive, do it as a kid, because you're only gonna get worse at it. No, that's not true. Actually, do it as an adult because you'll be better at it. But not too old, because it's like a bell curve. 35.
The more you know.
The more you know. 35 is when I was best at it. Now I think I'm getting worse. I'd say, what other fun things have I done? Oh, I've driven on acid. I went out to the...
what does acid do to you? What do you feel on it?
Oh, yeah. It makes you crazy. It makes you feel weird, but not heavily emotional the way mushrooms does. And then there's the psychedelic, headshot poster type things that I'm talking about, the twirling and the geometric patterns and the things like this. So there's that aspect to it. And then there's a real weird... feeling where I don't know, you feel odd, like I'm on drugs. I feel high or distorted, or there's a sense of oddness over your mind, and then on top of that, there's you're like, oh, cool, man, this stuff is cool, it feels good generally. Yeah, acid. I haven't had too many experiences on acid where I felt really bad. I haven't had.
There's never a bad trip. Yeah.
I'm not saying never, but not for me. Mushrooms, I've had much more negative.
And what do you think about its effects on your body? What is that?
Acid? I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's neurotoxic or anything like that.
Yes, I have no idea. All right.
Oh, I don't think so. I think MDMA is purported to have some neurotoxic effect. Alcohol, of course. Weed is fine. I think most drugs are actually pretty okay as far as their health properties. I don't think a lot of them have lasting.
Has there ever been a moment on a drug where you're like, oh, this is a rock bottom, or I feel scared? Like, besides the meth heart attack thing, is there ever a moment, not a shameful moment, but a moment of like, is this a rock bottom or no?
No, not with the drugs.
Okay.
It felt like that in life.
Just, regular life.
I'm a very depressive person, which might be.
Too. I get that.
Yeah, which might be one of the things that's made me want to, do drugs in the first place. Try to escape your own mind or kind of understand your mind, things like that. But I would more feel guilty after drugs. Okay. Oh, of course, waking up hungover and stuff. You wake up, you feel so depressed and terrible and things like that. Hangovers and stuff. Maybe after MDMA, you'd have a kind of
Molly's
serotonin dump, because you feel so good on it. But I think
Molly's worse than heroin and meth
for
hangover.
For sure. Yeah.
Molly's the worst.
Meth is the worst because you've been up for 3 days, and then you're going to feel terrible, of course, and the day you wake up.
So what do you do for a 3-day meth bender? What do you build?
What do you do exactly? What do you do if you're up for 72 hours straight? You
don't start like a Pokemon collection.
You watch a million hours of TV, and you clean your bathroom, and you fiddle with stuff. That's what you do. You just pray for sleep.
What's the weirdest thing where you've come to the next day and you're like, what the fuck did I do? And what drug?
What did I do?
Whether it be a mess or you piled pennies up in a corner or did something very strange.
Oh, like you come out the next day and something weird.
You're like, why did I even do that? Yeah.
Oh, that's like alcohol type stuff for me. It's like a lot of these drugs, they don't have. You're not forgetting things, and I'm also not doing anything crazy.
You're just kind of nodding off. It sounds like.
Well, I'm just like sitting on the couch or in bed, or
you're just in your head spinning.
Yeah, I'm just affecting the drug. I'm watching TV, perhaps, or I'm listening to music, or I'm walking around the neighborhood and just feeling the breeze, or I'm.
You don't remember a memory walking around the neighborhood where you're like, oh, I'm high right now. I should leave this thing. Like, has anyone ever been like, are you high?
No.
Wow. Yeah, see, people always have a fear of getting called out in the street.
Oh, well, when you're in New York, I never worried about that because I'm going to be the most interesting, nobody cares about me. I'm some fucking white jerk off in a polo shirt.
Fair.
So they don't care what I'm doing. And then I'm worried about my parents, and the police. That's
okay. And you never had to go to jail for any of this besides the weed you had mentioned?
Oh, I got a DWI when I was 19.
Tough.
It was a funny thing because I had got arrested for the weed stuff. They had only kept me in jail for 1 day. And then in the meanwhile, the DA had reviewed my case and bumped my misdemeanor up to a felony. So there's a warrant out for my arrest. I got arrested with the 28 ounces of weed. And then 3 weeks later, I got a DWI, just coincidentally.
Wow.
So I was driving home from this bar that was well known
to be... That might be the bottom.
Yeah, it was the bottom of me emotionally, not because it was so bad getting arrested, although it wasn't great. I was in New Orleans.
Did you ever have to
jail for 3 days?
Oh, for 3 days. What happened?
3 days the second time.
How's New Orleans jail? What do they talk about?
Sucked. This was pre-Katrina, man. This was wow. It was horrible. Everybody was like, it's called Orleans Parish, where the Orleans jail is. There's like, you should get arrested in Jefferson Parish. That's what all the people in jail were. They were like trying to give me like hotel recommendations or whatever. They were like, JP, that's where you want to get arrested, man. That's where they treat you like a man over.
Wow.
They had you're in a giant cell with 100 homeless people essentially. You have different bracelets on, so it's like murderers have red bracelets and and then like misdemeanor type people have yellow bracelets. Or whatever.
It's like almost being verified on Twitter now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's your blue check mark is your fucking red. Your red I'm a murderer bracelet.
So you could just see who the murderers were.
Yeah.
So how many? Oh my God, that's.
So they've only been accused at this point, of course. You know what I mean? We're just in lockup.
Yes.
So then you go. I was there for 3 or 4 days. So then I was there for 16 hours. Where they take your prints, they do your picture. You just kind of hang around. They move you from cell to cell to cell, and then they take your clothes after long enough, and then they move you to the back. And that's where it looks like, prison movies or whatever, where you're in a bunk with another guy and the doors close at night. There's one TV and the main thing that everybody's like circled around and everything.
And what's like the casual prison talk? I've always wondered, like, what is the conversation, man?
It's a lot of, goofing around, a lot of like trying to get cigarettes from the guards.
Okay.
Because the guards and the prisoners are basically the same people. And so they'll
Why is that?
Because prison guards are poor people, and I guess people in jail and a lot of poor people.
I thought they got paid well. I guess I don't know. I have to look into it.
Who would ever want to be a prison guard? I mean, it's at the local jail. It's got to be horrible.
Oh, interesting.
So, what are you talking about? I'm the only white person in this place.
So what do they say to you? You're Larry
I'm trying
David.
to be like as small and not noticeable as possible.
What are you saying?
Frankly,
Like the weather? I guess.
I was like, I've already seen this Judge Judy. What's on CBS?
What is a day? What is a day in jail? What's the schedule?
They just move you around constantly. They wake you up at 6 a.m.
Okay.
And then they're like, all right, we're going into this room now. And so now you're going to this room. And then they're like, all right, we're going to put handcuffs on you now. Like, okay, they put handcuffs on everybody. All right, now we're moving you to this thing. Now put your hands through here. Now we're going to take the handcuffs off. Okay. They're just like,
wow.
Nothing's happening. They're just like moving you from place to place to place. And then you go back to the main room for a while. And then you go to your cell. And then they bring you to, then finally you have your court day, I had the bad luck of getting arrested on Friday, so I didn't go to court till Monday afternoon. And then I'm in an orange jumpsuit. They take me, they put the shackles on you, the arm and the leg shackles, wow. And then the arms shackled to the legs, like you're in, wow. Cool Hand Luke or whatever. And then they take you to the courthouse, they unlock you, then everybody strips off naked, you have to spread your ass cheeks. I'm in a line with, it's me and 30 black guys who all had huge cocks, man.
I was about to say, how are you feeling?
Man, what I'm feeling is people say there's black guys don't really actually have it. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Unless it's only being a criminal that makes you have a big cock. And if not, why didn't it work for me? What the fuck, man? I got my little cold,
Hey, the world needs small cocks criminals, buddy.
God, Lord, man. Or it's just the soft hang on these guys is outrageous.
Well, God bless them.
God bless them, man.
Yeah,
anyway,
bless them.
So
you go in insecure, okay?
Yeah.
Are people bringing this up to you?
No. Yeah. Look at the white boy, little dick. Some murderer. Yeah. A bunch of guys with red bracelets. Little dick white boy. What do they care?
Oh, God, gross.
So they're all whispering to them. It's true. White guys do have little dicks.
It is true.
It's big. It's just only when it's hard. I can't. It's not fair.
Oh, God love you. I'm sure it's a great.
I'm doing my best.
You have a beautiful cock.
It's great.
Yes.
It's great. So anyway, then they reshackle you, and then I go down to the courthouse, and then you just it's all jail, brick, jail, steel, and then you walk into the courthouse, and it's all bright lights and plastic, and everybody's in there, and then my mom and dad are sitting there, and they're like, oh boy, you got yourself into it this time, Jason. Anyway, so then we post bail and then blah blah blah. We got a lawyer. I beat it down to a misdemeanor. It was, and then I had to go to 2 years of drug court. I was on probation. I had a probation officer.
A friend you made in that those meetings you had to go to and all that shit.
Oh yeah. Well, sometimes we'd have to go from one place to another, and I'd had a car, so someone was like, "Could you give me a ride?" Oh. It's like, "Oh, do I want to be driving heroin addicts around and stuff?" Not really. You don't make friends, so to speak. I was just trying to get through it as quickly as possible. Once a week, I had to go in for piss tests, so I had to go to the courthouse, and a guy has to they have an angled mirror, so they could look down at you on a trough, so that so when you're pissing, they see that you're not doing anything.
So a lot of this
bad
stuff is cock play.
It's a lot of cock related. Yes, exactly. A lot of edging. A lot of
guys looking at your cock.
A lot of tantric.
Wow, so this is almost like a weird reverse porn for you.
Man, it was not fun, man. I don't what it did was I was pee shy, because if I go to one of these, frat bars or something like that, and then there's always a trowel there for everybody to pee in.
Yeah.
I don't want to take my cock out in front of a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
Forget it. I had that all beaten out of me, man. I had to go pee in line in front of criminals once a week for a year and a half, and so it's okay.
For weed.
Yeah, for weed. Yeah.
For weed, that's not legal.
For weed, yes, yeah.
How crazy is that? A lot of people
in New
stand
Orleans,
at your
you're
cock.
allowed to have 2 pounds in New Orleans. And that's the thing. I was talking to my mom about this a couple days. She was like, "Oh, I'm so," because I got expelled from college. That was another part of it.
No.
Yeah, and so that was another bad aspect of it.
I've been thrown out.
Yeah. It's we've all been thrown out of some things.
Yeah.
Come on, whether it's the AT&T store or Tulane University. So they kicked me out, and then, but then they ended up letting me back in because I did my probation, and then I went back, and I was like, "Please, Tulane, can I come back to the school?"
Wow.
And so they let me back in. And I finished because they just wanted my money. They couldn't care less. They just had to kick me out because they found me with so much drugs. You know, it was that was just the rigmarole. So, but then they let me back in, and she was like, "Oh, so I was like, I'm not grateful they let me back in. I'm like, I was fucking selling weed. Who gives a fucking shit, man? You don't have to kick somebody out of." But I see her perspective too, of course. So I just don't think there's anything wrong with weed.
So just to give an overall outro to your drug use.
Yeah.
Biggest pro and biggest con of getting through all those drugs.
Biggest pro is you get the variety of experience, and you learn there's nothing to be afraid of, and you I don't know. Most of life is very boring, and a lot of these things aren't boring. I've got to give it to them. It's interesting to do these things. So just as a matter of it being an interesting way to spend your time, I would say that is the biggest pro. The biggest con would be the occasional negative health effects. Like I said, my parents aren't so keen on drugs or anything like that. So having to, I think, especially getting arrested and the outcomes that I've had, some of the bad outcomes, I think, and the way that's put me in bad emotional straits with my parents has been a big negative thing. And, yes, like some of the bad health things like I've been talking about. And then what else? The bad thing is that realizing it's not an answer to any problem that you could. Question. It answers no question. Yeah. It answers no question. There was nothing there at the end of the day. There's no great revelation or thing I figured out, or I was not able to fix my emotional problems or figure out what the meaning of life was or understand anything really more deeply or significant. Maybe I'm fooling myself, and I have, but that is not my impression from having done all these things. So that was the bad news, I'd say, about doing drugs, is that it was... I'd say life is a hollow experience, but I'd say drugs is no more meaningful an experience than anything else you'd be doing in life. It's more valuable, perhaps, to be in a loving relationship or to achieve, career dreams or things like this. I think these things would probably be more. But I don't. Maybe those things end up being very hollow. Also, I don't know. Those. So,
I think it's just a different drug, man.
But I've been in love before, and I would say, what's gratifying about a great relationship is much more valuable than what would be gratifying about these drugs. But I'd say life is very boring, and it's a great way to pass the time.
But people at the top don't love it. Look, Justin Bieber has a hard life, man. Dealing with a lot of shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I think it's cool, man. I think you should write a book and definitely make something with the experience. It's cool as hell.
We did this, man. I was happy to be able to talk to you about it.
Dude, I'm hyped to see you.
Great to see you too, Mike.
Should we go to Joey Rose's?
Let's go to it.